of effective communication. You talk on a regular basis. Like Mike said, you talk to more customers than the average person. And sometimes you wonder just how effective you are because your message seems to get lost in the fog, lost in the sauce. And you step back sometimes and start to wonder, is it me? Or is it somebody else? We all start to wonder, though, exactly how did communication get to the point where it is so complicated and confusing? What is the problem? By the time we're finished with this session, you are going to know what can dictate our behaviors and our attitudes when we're in conversations, especially when we're in difficult conversations. And then you're going to know how you can consistently create a situation that is positive no matter what the conversation is. And we're going to accomplish this by, one, defining 4 communication styles. You're also going to know your own personal communication style, as well as some strengths you have and stretches that you're going to have to do. I hope you wear your yoga pants. And then finally, you will have a plan, no matter to whom you are speaking or what the conversation is about, to always keep it on a positive note. My name is Bridget McGowan, and what I do is I help professionals be the most engaging, dynamic, incredibly effective communicators ever. Stop me at any time with your questions along the way. I'm really trying to keep a straight face. That wasn't quite 30 seconds because I was getting really uncomfortable. What did you just learn in the last 30 seconds?
Right now, I like the like you're very engaging. That's what we were talking about.
Well, the real answer, and I can't appreciate that, is you learned absolutely nothing. One thing is, if any of us wants to be understood, then we have to say something. I'm sure some of you were sitting thinking, what is she doing over there? And I'm really trying to keep from laughing. I'm really trying to keep it together. But if you want to understand each other, then we have to talk. We must communicate. Silence is not an option if we are going to grow and move forward. It just isn't. Passive aggressiveness or just shutting down. What? Are you guilty of that? It won't work. So for that reason, or those reasons, and because this is a communication session, let's talk. I need you to get into pairs, and prepare to have a conversation, just the two of you. Decide who is going to be person A and who is going to be person B. Somebody. Who is going to be person A and who is going to be person B? We're good? Is it really? Who is person A? Raise your hand. Beautiful. Now, without talking, well, maybe you do need to talk. Choose which of these questions you will cover in your conversation. Are you going to talk about A, B, or C? Or you can talk about a combination of them. But make that decision now. Take 15 seconds to make that decision. Now, person A, I need you to go out into the hallway for just a minute or two. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick a communication style that I'm going to put up here for your conversation, okay? So you can either be the peacemaker, the truth keeper, the solution seeker, or the risk taker. I want you to decide which one of those you want to be. You're just going to be a difficult person, but don't let person A know what you're doing. Just do it. So I'll give you a second to decide which one you're going to pick. It doesn't matter which one. How did things go? Okay. You said it was like pulling teeth? Okay. Okay, you couldn't get out everything you wanted to say, yes.
Well, I was a little different because she said the details. I said, okay. And
Okay.
then she asked me a question, I answered the question, I asked her a question, and she answered the question, I answered the question. So.
Well, she asked him, can we just cut to the details? He's like,
No,
well,
she said,
okay.
can you-
cut the
And then asked me the
details.
direct question, and I answered it.
And so y'all were just okay.
That was it.
Okay, did that work for you,
Did
or?
that work for you?
No, it worked for you.
It worked for me, because I was okay with it.
Okay. Yes, and I need to get your names as I talk to you. So tell me your name. Cameron.
I was in the middle. I was hitting the punchline.
Well, how did things go up until I rang the bell?
I felt like they were well. She was listening. I was talking.
Okay, who was the person next?
I was.
Real tough. She was attentive. That wasn't an option. Okay, anybody else? How did your conversations go?
I didn't get very far.
Didn't get very far? Why didn't you get far? What was happening?
Well, there was too much talking and nobody knew because you didn't know the directions of what we were supposed to do and walk back in.
Just talk, okay? Oh, now you're deflecting. Oh, yeah. We need to have a one-on-one session. Just you and me out in the parking lot. Hang on. What's going on?
Collect more details. So the time wasn't enough to collect those details to keep somebody talking like I tried to do.
Were you willing to collect the get rid of
Absolutely.
details? Oh, okay. This is fantastic. Okay. Yes.
I'm confused because when I came in and asked him the question, he was like, no, I'm supposed to do what you're doing, and that's not me. And he's like, you're supposed to answer my question, and I'm like, what? So I'm totally confused.
So yes, there was some level of confusion for some people. Part of the audience probably felt, my goodness, what is going on here? I feel frustrated because deep down inside, every last one of us wants our ideas to be liked. We want to be liked. On some level, we even want to be revered. And we want what we share with others to be embraced. And if that doesn't happen, if we're met with conflict, if we're met with questions, we're met with people wanting us to write things down and cite sources, sometimes we get into a situation where it is a fighting match with our words. If we're not careful, we want to just say, hold on just a second. Who's running this show? Your environment will change how you communicate and how you react to different scenarios. So tell me, what is your behavior? What's your attitude in an environment like this? A couple of words. How do you feel in an environment like this? Eager, happy, chatty, relaxed, light, and your communication patterns will follow that light, relaxed situation. What about here? Defensive, anxious, angry. Try to get angry with her. How about here?
When you go to fly to a dinner party and you ask what would be our demeanor, would it not be the person you're sitting next to? Because if your person is that's lively and you sit next to somebody that's like,
Right.
would it not change your entire
That's tell me your name?
Jeffrey?
Jeffrey, that's
It's
a
really
fantastic.
sad, just in case you got it right.
It's really what?
Ted, in case you got it right.
What is this man's name? I'm not asking him. Now, one more time. Jeffrey. You are right, and I'm going to come to you. You're right, although the entire environment may be happy or relaxed, but if you're sitting next to a stick in the mud, that can put a damper on things. So what do? You turn and talk to the other person. Yes.
My question is, I mean, obviously we're here to learn how to effectively communicate. How do you communicate with people that don't have effective listening skills? And they just hear wah, 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 and they don't respond correctly, they don't feel, you know you're being clear, and they
communicate with someone who
Doesn't listen.
Doesn't
They don't
listen.
hear what you're saying, because they don't have those skills to process what you're saying.
you have to tell them what you need. You have to, so you're telling me they don't have listening skills? What's going on here? You have to, we'll get to that, but the bottom line is you have to let them know what it is you need and what it is you want to accomplish in this conversation and what you want them to get out of it too and make it mutually beneficial.
Because sometimes
So-
you feel like you're speaking a whole nother language, and they look at you like.
Right,
like,
so
am
then, that's when we have to stop and we have to use our I statements and say, I am committed to sharing this with you, or I have this kind of information to give. Are you willing to listen? Are you ready to take it in? Can I count on you to be present here physically and mentally? Can we agree on those ground agreements before we continue with the conversation? So you have to make sure you ask for what you want or what you need in a conversation if you know you're about to have a conversation with a fool. What is your attitude or what's your behavior like in this instance? Or are you the one holding the sign? It's fine. Behavior and attitude are functions of their environments, and they are either improved or they're worsened based on the response that people give that behavior or give that attitude. So back to, and please tell me your name.
Allison?
Back to Allison's point, if you have a situation where you know this person just is not going to listen, if you don't do anything about it, the person continues to not listen. The person continues to disengage. The person continues to essentially ignore your message. Until you say, this is what I need, then that behavior continues. So let's talk a little bit more about that. How do we keep conversations from falling apart? There are certain pieces that must be in place. One is just understanding different personal communication styles. And you're going to know your style this morning as well as the styles of others. Then having a plan that matches your style and that is going to help you get what you want. Then making sure you are consistent. And then finally being able, when you're at work, to separate your professional self from your personal self. I cannot imagine being on the phone, and I know how I am when I call customer service. I cannot imagine being on the other end and somehow keeping your cool. So we're going to talk about that separation of professional self from personal self. Let's get into it with our personal communication styles. There are all kinds of personality styles, behavioral styles, communication styles out there. For the purpose of this session, we're using these four. These tend to be four of the more standard ones that you'll see across the board in research. One of them is the peacemaker. This is the person who needs to have a sense of personal rapport with you before engaging in a conversation. And this person needs emotional acceptance before going forward with a conversation. And then there are the truth keepers. These are the ones who want to know or need to know what's being communicated is logical, that it makes sense, that it's accurate, that it fits with their current knowledge base, that it fits with their current set of facts. And then we have the solution seekers. Those are the ones who just need to know the bottom line and how can they use what you are sharing. How can I take this information and do something with it? Because I don't want to just listen to be listening. And then finally there are the risk takers. They need energy, they need excitement, they need sparklies in the air. They love to share energy, they love discovering. No one communication style is better than the other one. And you are now going to place yourself in the quadrant that you think is the communication style that best matches you. So if you would say 51% of the time you're a peacemaker, I would like for you, and see, this room is not a perfect square. I love the shape of it. I love this room. But then it makes it hard for me to do stuff like this. What I want you to do is, if you are a peacemaker, I want you, to kind of gather over in this area. If you see yourself as a peacemaker, in just a second we're all going to move. If you consider yourself more of a truth keeper, then kind of in this area. Yeah, this is how we'll do it. If you see yourself as a solution seeker, then kind of put yourself in the middle section here. And then if you're a risk taker, over here. When it comes to communicating, I'm not talking about skydiving and stuff. Communicating. Hold on just a second before we move. I have a question. Right. I need you to, she asks, what if you're in between two? What if you're in between both? What I want you to do is think about who are you 51% of the time. I know. So my peacemakers over here, then my truth keepers here, solution seekers here, risk takers over there. Move and take your things with you. I want you to take your things with you. Are a peacemaker. Raise your hand. We can do the wave. Raise your hand if you're a truth keeper. Raise your hand if you're a solution seeker. Oh, that makes sense to have so many solution seekers at Lifeline. Right? And then risk takers. But seriously, let's just do the wave for the fun. Come on. Now, this is what we need to find out from you, because you all have different styles of communicating, and you're all looking for different things during the course of conversations. What I need to find out from you, and what your colleagues need to find out from you, is answers to these two questions. One, in what ways can your communication style cause you to be misunderstood by others? All of them are fantastic communication styles. All of them have terrific characteristics. But if I'm a risk taker and I'm working with somebody who's a peacemaker, you sitting here want me to chit chat and make small talk. It can be rough, right? So I need you to answer these two questions for us in a second. And what's the best way to effectively communicate with you? And then I have some ideas of my own. But I want to hear from the real folks, because there's research and there's the real deal. So over here, peacemakers, talk amongst yourselves for about 2 minutes about what are some ways that you can be misunderstood because of your style of communicating, and what's the best way to communicate with you. You're going to talk for 2 minutes. You're going to talk for 2 minutes. My truth keepers, what are ways that you're misunderstood, and what's the best way for us to communicate with you? Same thing for my solution seekers, same thing for my risk takers. 2 minutes, and then you got to tell the rest of us the answer to your question. Yeah? Peacemakers, help us out. First, in what ways can your preferred way of communicating be misunderstood by people?
You might sound too nice at first.
Sound too nice at first?
They might think that they need to, okay, I should just run over this person.
I can just run over this person.
I think so.
Okay, that's a good one. I like that. In what other ways are you misunderstood? Yes. Tell me your name, please. Oh, I didn't hear you. Deanna, yes.
They take our kindness as like a weakness. We're like push, and then we're like, when we kind of shove back, they're like, wait, what happened?
Oh, yes. Take kindness for a weakness. And so that people will push you, and then finally when you decide to say, no, hold on, oh, what's wrong with her? There's nothing wrong with her. She's had enough. She's taking a risk for a change.
Trish and I were talking, and we'd identified that maybe one thing that leads us to be misunderstood, possibly mostly with solution seekers, is if we're attempting to connect emotionally, and they may see that as us not taking them seriously.
So when you're wanting to connect emotionally, people may not see you as taking you seriously. Oh, that's a good one. Anything else? Now, help us understand what's the best way to effect. Wait, hold on. What questions do you have for the peacemakers?
I would just like to echo what you said, because I would kind of agree, because I'm a solution seeker, so people that like want to waste time connecting emotions.
I don't see hardly anybody stop smiling. Oh, look at how hurt they look. But this is good. You see their perspective. This is wasting time. Let's cut to the chase. Let's go on and get this fixed. However, what's your perspective? Why do you need that? Why do you think that's important?
I think
Build trust.
we were talking, I think building trust was definitely part of it, but another one was
Building trust is part of it, and what else?
And we identified one of the best ways possibly to effectively communicate with us is goes back to the saying peacemakers don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Peacemakers don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Good one.
That deserves a couple of high fives. Air high fives. Hold on.
Sometimes you connect emotionally because we value you as an individual.
We value you as an individual. How does that feel? Hold on. This is not how this is supposed to go. He said, if you value me, then you'll value my time. Hold on. Here it goes. I feel it.
Shots fired.
Peacemaker is able to adapt to the other community skills.
Amen.
So if your time is valuable and you're not connecting to me emotionally, we cut that off and we go right to what you need.
So peacemakers can adapt. Okay, that's enough.
Sweet waiting for you to
Yes, sir.
I was just gonna say, oftentimes peacemakers.
Hold on. Someone's
peacemakers-
talking. Just a second.
Peacemakers can diffuse the situation with saying things like, you know what, that happened to me last summer. I definitely understand where you're at. Let me see, how I can help you. Having
They
that
can
type of
diffuse
conversation.
situations. They can relate and say, oh, I get it. That happened to me last summer. Yeah, I like that. Yes, sir.
We don't care to fix the problem.
Wait, what you say?
We don't care to fix the problem.
Right, just fix your problem. We're gonna talk about how what they do and what you do are absolutely necessary, and how every last one of us kind of needs a little bit of the peacemaking, of the solution seeking, and so on and so forth. You solution seeking, y'all need to just pump your brakes. and then there's a lot of them, they're the majority, so they're a little, Yes, Jeff.
Okay then. So would it not change your somewhat perspective, because I know I'm a true solution seeker, but would it not change depending on how the person comes at you?
Absolutely.
So it's really how the person comes at you. So you go from
That behavior
peacemaker
and environment.
to true solution or risk taker, depending on how the person comes at you. The minute you say hello.
And I've got a plan for you, regardless of what your type is, that is going to work every single time, so you can get what it is you need out of the conversation. I'm going to come here, then here. Was your hand up, or you? No. Okay, you're good. Okay. Tell me your name, please. Wendy.
So I think empathy is a little bit different than being a peacemaker.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
empathy is you identifying and saying, I understand your situation.
Right.
Is not being a peacemaker.
Well, that's just the label we're giving them. But
Okay.
as a peacemaker, you do have empathy. You want to connect. You need to understand where someone else is coming from. Yes. So that's just our label.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think that could be in all categories.
The empathy.
So empathy.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to talk about that. That's a really good observation, Wendy. Yes, sir. Tell me your name.
So my name is Jared.
Jared.
And, just kind of two comments. The first one is, yes, everybody has to be able to adapt to each different type of person, just like we have to adapt solution seekers to make sure that we're not coming across as rude.
Right.
And then, for example, kind of to tag off of what Wendy was saying, is the peacemakers say like, oh yeah, I understand that happened to me last summer, when a solution seeker may kind of say the same thing, but we'll just say it something like, I totally understand, I'm gonna help you fix this problem, let's get going.
Right, yeah. As long as you grab in some piece from each of the different types, and then you put your own spin on it. You use your own personality and your own approach. So yeah, thanks, Jared. Yes, tell me your name, please. Was your hand up a second?
It was, but he pretty much said.
Good. Fantastic. Thank you, peacemakers. So now we understand. What is it what's the best way to effectively communicate with you?
Be nice.
Be nice.
What Kevin said.
Just because we're peacemakers doesn't mean we can't respond to nasty.
Wait, what was that? Say it again.
I said, just because we're peacemakers doesn't mean we cannot respond to nasty.
Just because we're peacemakers doesn't mean we can't get with you. Truth keepers. Oh, yes, yes. Go ahead. I was going to tee it up.
So we were saying that our communication styles, we can be misunderstood as coming off as like a lack of sympathy. You know, and at times, you know, we're all about facts and we keep it logical. So there's also that we want to be kind of like emotionally cognizant of people, but it can come off as like, you know, manipulatively insincere.
So, and let me just repeat for people in the back. So he says, as truth keepers, because you want the facts, sometimes it can come off as not being, not caring, not being sympathetic, and go on. I just want to make sure that everybody can hear what you're saying.
And then, you know, because we want to try and be nice and align with people, just kind of being logical, and if people know how we are, it can come off as like being manipulatively insincere.
Being logical can come off as being manipulatively insensitive. What? Just plain language. Just plain language. We don't need all this multi-syllabic jam. You can come off as being blunt. Okay? Thank you. Tell me your name. Nick. Thanks, Nick. And tell me your name, please. Shanice.
I think more so he's trying to say you can't argue emotionally, but you can argue logically. Because if you argue emotionally, then you're really not getting anywhere.
Okay.
Very true.
I used to say, would I rather be right or would I rather be happy?
Would I rather be right or would I rather be happy?
Right.
And the peacemakers are like, happy any day. Duh.
We can come off as know-it-alls. And kind of snooty because we know better than you do, and we're going to correct you when you're wrong.
Sergeant, just growling Nazis over here.
Yes.
Coming off as aggressive.
Can come off as aggressive.
Having an attitude.
Having an attitude.
No, we
so
don't.
what's the best
Just a little. No.
What? Just a touch. What's the best way to effectively communicate with you? Yes, Wendy.
Don't sugarcoat.
Don't sugarcoat.
Tell me what it is. Don't try to like pull over my eye. Just say what you need, how I can help you, and then I'm gonna find a solution.
Say what you need, how I can help you, and I'm going to find a solution. Don't pull the wool over my eyes. Just.
No bull honky.
No bull honky.
Just straightforward, be blunt.
None of that. Be straightforward. Michael.
I was going to say the exact same thing, be straightforward.
Yes, thank you.
Know what you're saying before you say it.
Know what you're saying before you say it. I already have a plan in your head as to what's coming out. Okay.
I kind of feel like we're sort of like, I forgot the name of their
Solution seekers.
I just want to get.
Very similar.
I just want to get to the point.
Yeah.
Know what the problem is, fix it. I want to help people. I want to make them happy and fix the problem. But for me to say, "Oh, I'm so sorry you're going through this," it doesn't sound sincere when I say it.
Right. We're going to talk about how you can work on that a little. I know. I'm with you though. Okay, now solution seekers. In what?
Ms. Rita?
You know. Okay.
I feel like this. We're in a business atmosphere, so we have to learn how to do peacemaker and solution seeker and keep it truthful at the same time.
She says we're in a business atmosphere, so we have to work on how to be a peacemaker and a solution seeker at the same time.
Because everybody has different attitudes when you call them, and they have different personalities. Some people-
Everybody's got different
and
attitudes.
some people just want you to hear them out, whether it's personal.
Right.
Or, you know, they'll.
Turns into a counseling session. Have to learn how to adapt according to who you're speaking to. Very good. Rita, is your name? Yes, thank you. Yes, sir. Tell me your name, please.
I'm Merrill.
Meryl?
I'm the solution seeker.
Okay. I don't know what to do right now.
So it's going piggybacking off of that. It's, you know, I talked to someone from New York and New Jersey differently than I talked to someone from Georgia.
Oh, yes. Did you hear that? I talked to somebody who's based in New York and New Jersey differently than I talked to somebody who's based in Georgia. Yeah. I mean, New York, East Coast, New England, go on and cut to it. New York Minute, what you want? Georgia, hey! You know what? I'm from the South, so I just chit-chat with you all day.
My name is Jackie, and seniors, I think we're really misunderstood.
Hold on.
They think that we don't care about their story. Like I had a member.
Y'all sound like you don't.
We just want to get straight to the point, not because we're having a bad day, but because we just want to like do our job. We want to help. That's all.
You want to help. Okay, so you want to hurry up and help.
Yeah, it's like, why stay in your misery and your tragedy and your trauma when I have a solution for you? You'll just zip it.
I need a peacemaker to talk to.
I think just as like anyone you speak to, like being a solution like seeker, like you can speak to anyone from Georgia, New York. I think just getting the solution because everyone has a problem they call in.
Right.
So if you get the solution at point, you can be a peacemaker. You can tell them the truth. You can take a risk.
Right.
You have the solution already, so you can accomplish that.
Right.
It's all way easier.
Right.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why do we keep trashing the East Coast? I said, just saying. Yeah, just asking. Behind the
Reputation.
Hold on.
You're in Arizona.
I think one big way that can be misunderstood is that we're not open to change or other forms of communication. The truth is you have to address it the right way. Peacekeepers, all that, do your thing, but when you come to us, just like you're asking to be nice, when you come to us, just cut the crap. Tell us what you need, and we will happily provide it for you, whatever it is.
Yep. Spot on, Charles. And we're going to talk about that in a little softer terms. But we're going to talk about that approach. I'm going to go to you, then Jared, then Margaret. Tell me your name, please.
I'm Justin.
Justin.
Basically, we just come across as rude and short, but we care. We just don't care that you know that we care.
We care, but we just don't care that you know that we care. That makes us feel really good. But no, that's good. That helps us. Yes, that helps us. Okay. Well, it's nice to know you have hearts.
I'm Jackie. So I think just to skip ahead a little bit, one of the best ways to communicate with us is to let us get to the solution first.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about all the other stuff.
But that's a pressing issue for you.
Yeah.
There's this problem right here in our faces. Let's fix this, and then we can talk about rainbows and puppies and cupcakes. Okay.
If you're
Okay.
free to-
Fair enough. Oh, okay. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. So instead of doing that first, let's fix the problem, and then we can.
Sounds like a hyperactive fix-it mode.
What do you want to fix, or do you want to be happy?
Okay.
Well, I don't know. If I should be running over there, because I just feel like I'm a little bit of everything.
Yes.
I do like to talk about bubble government and
I do
rainbows,
too.
and I like to solve the problem.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm a little bit of everything. No, don't get me wrong, but once in a while it's in my head, like, let's get to the point. But I'm not gonna lie.
identify, and no one person is in any one of these categories 100% of the time.
Yeah.
So fantastic observation. One more comment, and then I'm going to move to our risk takers. Never mind. And then you should see the look she's giving me.
That's a really quick question. Because we were talking about this earlier, and we all come at, on our department of retention, we all come at it slightly different. Because in life, like, there's a bunch of disclosures you have to say, and you want a QA score that's somewhat decent. So there's always and you as an individual that calls them on scale your service, just you don't want to do all that. So you're like, I got you. So you have to come at people a different way.
Yeah.
So you can get all that out, so you can get at least a somewhat decent score, even if you're going to cancel the service. So that has an overall effect on how you come out as a peacemaker or solution or, does that make sense?
Yes,
When
it
in our
does.
department,
They don't have no
calls
QA,
in-
so you just like.
We do have QA, but so in our department, they call in, they've already been charged. So our call like straight to the point, and then we get
Okay, so it really depends on the call, the situation, the problem,
The department.
all of that. Okay, fantastic. Risk takers, how can your communication style be misunderstood? What is your communication style? Tell us right quick.
Okay, so one thing I want to point out first before we do anything is I did notice that all of the risk takers sit here. We're very observant. We have a lot of answers to everything. We're excited about what we do, what we give. We want everybody, we don't feel that anybody that calls in should not have what we have to offer. So we want to listen, observe, take everything in. We're excited because we know the answers already. We're ready to provide it to them. We want to give them that peace of mind, that aha moment that they're saying, okay, I'm glad I called and talked to you today. We're energetic, we're wanting to share the information. We want them to stay with us because we do provide a service that's impeccable to any other company out there.
Oh my goodness, put him on the marketing team.
Our communication style could come across as kind of like rash and too excited when somebody's calling in because they're upset, because they're anything, but we understand problems. We understand circumstances. We're not always the best ideal or anything like that, but we have solutions. This is why you're here. This is why you're with us. We're going to give you all the information you need to show that little hiccup doesn't change anything as well as far as what we give you. So that's one of the things that we come off as pretty strong, pretty excited, because as soon as we get off the phone with them, we're almost certain that as soon as they hang up, they're going to call their neighbors or friends and say that you should have heard the person I was talking to today. You need to enroll or talk to this person or whatever. That's how we are. We just want to get people to good all the time.
And I like that you're cognizant of that. That it's not just this phone call, but this phone call and the results from this phone call and the way I make the person feel on this phone call can have reverberating results. I don't know who this person is about to go talk to, call, email. I don't know what they're about to put on social media. I need to make sure that this is the best experience possible. Thank you. Thank you. What's the best way to effectively communicate with risk takers? Be excited. But hold on. Be excited.
So you kind of, one, talk to us with confidence, and don't be like, tell us your sad story, but, be excited about what you're telling us.
Know what you're gonna say and say it.
Yeah. Maybe, I'm a risk taker, but I don't need to know your life story, but give me the facts. Be excited about what you're telling me, and then I can give it to you back.
Okay.
But to like that, not say anything about that, I just feel like it's different for me being a risk taker, for her being a risk taker, if that makes sense. There's separate of different beliefs. Like, I think everyone is a sort of a chameleon of all of these different
Yes.
factors or whatever. But as a risk taker, I like to listen before I reply or respond. So I sort of match the level of the intake of the call, which I'm sure all of you do.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
like the
Did you hear?
energy.
I hate to interrupt you, but yes. Did you hear that? You match the energy and the attitude and the demeanor of the person on the on the line with you, and then that helps you decide: do I need to start off as a peacemaker? Do I start off as a truth keeper? Do I start off as a solution seeker? Do I start off as a risk taker? But you match that energy. Thank you for that point.
Yeah, definitely. And I was just going to continue saying that. It's like, I don't know. Like I said, I feel like every single one of you I haven't met every one of you, but all of you guys are sort of categorized in these little departments and stuff like that. But as a risk taker, I'm not saying that it's like the center point of all of these, because I feel like everyone has to take certain risks to do the other parts of being the solution. So it's like an immersive role, I guess.
No. What do you mean? I guess I don't know. That's not the speech of a You're spot on. You're spot on. What's your name?
Joshua. It's Joshua without an H.
Thank you, that helps. Thank you, Joshua. Perfect. Yes.
I don't know everybody's in the same category, but if we get a call that somebody's completely irate, angry, that's probably like my most favorite call.
Oh, wow. He said somebody who's just outraged, upset. That's his most favorite call. So, hey, what's your name and extension? And what's your name? Let me get you over to Chris.
We take on because it's just like, okay, so this person obviously is not aware of what why they're going in, or the actual facts of things, and it's just the thing that we look forward to because, like I said, we stand behind everything that we endorse because we are confident. And it's just like, you know, if you're willing to, if you're going to allow me to listen to you vent, tell me everything, and say whatever it is that you want to say, we're going to listen, and then we're going to give you the information, get you excited about the service, and kind of be like, well, that was mad. So,
Yeah. I like it. Thank you for participating. Have a seat if you need a seat somewhere. Find a real seat. If you have a seat next to you, raise your hand so somebody can come grab it. Thank you for a really good conversation. And what you all essentially told us was we have to do some style stretching ever so often. And what style stretching is making sure that the person you're speaking with knows exactly what you need out of the conversation. And then you're also ensuring you're giving the person who's listening to you what that person needs. That's style stretching. I need the facts. That's all I need. But then the person I'm talking to might need a story, might need a connection. So I gotta stretch and get out of the truth keeping and the solution seeking and get over here and do a little bit of stretching into the peacemakers. That is what's going to lead to effective communication, is when I'm willing to do some stretching. And that just means you ensure you get what you need out of the conversation, and simultaneously you make sure the other party gets what he or she needs. I only have one person shaking his head. He or she needs, okay, y'all aren't feeling me, out of the conversation. But seriously, that is how we effectively coexist, is with that stretching. Now, I'm going to tell you that it's not necessarily that easy. Let's look very quickly at what peacemakers need. They like, or what they like. With peacemakers, they like the small talk first. They like you to ask about them and their families and make suggestions to them. Don't tell them what to do, but offer up recommendations. And then give them some time to step back and see how they feel about the situation. Do not pressure them right there on the spot to come up with an answer, right there on the spot to make a decision, to make a choice. Give them some time. They just want to think about, does this fit with my philosophy, with my goal, with my what I have in my vision. And then show them that you value them. That's what works with peacemakers as you're doing your stretching, your style stretching. With truth keepers, they like a written plan. Was it you over here who was writing? Somebody had you write something down. They like a written plan. They like accurate details. Cite your sources. Where'd you get that from? They want you to make sure that you give them objective material. They don't like a lot of fluff. So that's what you do when you're stretching and working with truth keepers. With solution seekers, bottom line first. Very similar to the last quadrant. Bottom line first, and they want to know, how can I use this What's the practicality of this? I don't want to do something just for the sake of doing it. I don't want to switch to a new program just because it's the latest, greatest, hottest thing that's going to tell me how is this going to make life easier for me? How am I able to work more effectively, more efficiently? And then with Risktaker, energy first. Don't come to them looking sleepy and tired. Come with some energy. Look like you care about yourself. Look like you care about your message. And then keep it alive. Keep it exciting. Leave out all of the details. They don't like a lot of minutia. But at the same time, they want to explore big picture and possibilities. And how do we keep this train moving down the road? How do we envision the future? What does it look like? And every single one of you has incredibly valuable characteristics. And what you do is you stretch and you use a little bit from each one of the quadrants to fit your own style. Now, I need to give you, let's see, they don't have enough index cards to give you. I want you to take a minute and passing these out during the conversation. I want you, do you have pens? No. Oh, okay. Well, we can do it a little bit more expeditiously because we gotta pass out pens and note cards and all of the good stuff. We're not going to do that. So what I want you to do is I want you to turn to a neighbor and discuss a summary of what you've heard thus far, and at the same time, what might be a challenge to applying what you've heard thus far. Turn to a neighbor and have that conversation about these 2 points right here. We'll just do it a little bit more What's a challenge? What's a challenge to applying? Justin and then Merrill Lynch. Justin, then Merrill, then Jerry.
Being empathetic on call.
Being empathetic on the call, that's a challenge. Okay, Merrill. Buying into
the actual values of each one of those little sides.
Buying into the values of each one of those. Jerry.
So I feel like for solution, whatever, or
yeah. Solution seekers. Yeah.
Solution seekers. Yeah, I know. Sorry. I think something that is a struggle for us is out of all the 4, I feel like we probably have to do the most flexing because we come off as like rude whenever we're not. If we were just true solution seekers, whereas like peacemakers, they can kind of go through as well and they're just really nice people.
So what's the challenge?
So we have to the ones have to be flexing so that we can not come off as rude, so that we're not getting all those soup calls because we were too direct.
Okay. Tell me your name. Drew.
I think just the whole thing with the whole like all of it. It's just like hardest part, just getting out of your comfort zone.
Getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Tell me your name, please. Linda.
So,
is it just me, or do you notice all the challenges are coming from one area of the room? Okay.
by the time the customer gets done with the peacemaker discussing their kids, their husband, their dog.
Linda, stop it.
Wait a minute.
Okay. Yes, that can be a challenge. You get the conversation gets derailed and you're off on tangents. Okay, fair enough.
So we have to go to different parts of us. So, yes, I acknowledge that you have some great dogs and all that, but back to the point of why you called.
Okay.
So we can actually provide a solution instead of them having to call back.
Okay, fair enough. A challenge. Not too many more challenges. I have an answer to your challenges if you'll let me get there.
I think overall challenge is just adapting.
Adapting.
To whoever's coming in.
Yeah.
I think we all have a little bit of each, but depending on who's on the line, you want to adapt to that.
And flipping that script so quickly, and it's called code switching, essentially, where 1 minute you've got this persona and this demeanor, and then all of a sudden you've got a different one. Code switching, it's tough. Yes.
So for peacekeepers, if call back, we are very emotional beings. Not to say that anyone else isn't, and we can flip the switch depending upon who we're talking to.
Yeah.
We're having a conversation, one-on-one. Typically, the people that we're talking to usually can slip in, and we all get on the same.
Yeah. What's a challenge? What's a challenge to apply this?
The
trying to save some emotion for yourself.
Trying to save emotion for yourself, but
You're putting it out there for so many different types of people and so many different types of emotions.
Okay, so not spreading yourself too thinly, not being completely exhausted at 5 p.m. Yes, very quickly,
I
challenge.
think being a truth keeper, you gotta keep in mind that not everybody can handle the truth.
Moving on.
I think for peacekeepers especially, it's just not taking things personal.
Not taking things personal. Yeah. Yep. Okay, beautiful. But you want to know how we handle all of those challenges? Is making sure that we have a plan. We just have a plan of attack no matter to whom we are speaking. So let's look at this plan, and it's a very easy plan, 3-step plan. One, you've got to have a purpose. Why are we even having this conversation? I mean, before I pick up that phone or the minute I hear the first few words and understand what's going on, I need to establish exactly why both of us are here present. And then the next part is what is our end product by the time this conversation is done. What do you want to get out of this conversation? A feeling of satisfaction, a feeling that you helped someone, a feeling that you moved the semantic brand forward, whatever it is. And then what does the listener need to get out of the conversation? What is the end product, the ultimate goal, the ultimate result for which we are all aiming? And then finally, what is the process that I am going to use to get me there? So no matter the challenge, no matter the communication style, if I use this plan, I'm very clear on the purpose of this call. I'm very clear on what it is that both of us need to get out of this conversation. And then finally, I need to have my process, my steps for getting us there. Then we can easily adapt, we can more easily adapt and make those changes on the fly as needed if I have this 3-step plan. So let's talk a little bit about what the process is. One is going to be to communicate with grit. Grit stands for generosity, respect, integrity, and trust. Generosity, respect, integrity, and trust. If I enter into that conversation knowing that I want to uplift this person and knowing that I want to be generous, that I want to be helpful, then that helps me move into some of the other zones. If I enter into the conversation knowing that I want to be respectful, whether it's respectful of the person's time and cutting to the chase, or respectful of the person's feelings and their current challenges, whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. But as long as I know I want to be respectful and I want to treat this person the same way I would want to be treated if I was him, if I was in that person's shoes, and we're going to talk about that one in a second. And then integrity and trust, you know what that means. I mean, you just do the right thing when nobody's looking. You say the right thing when nobody else is around or when there are tons of people around. Now, to this part about stepping into the other person's shoes, this is that empathy piece. How would I want this handled? If I was having this problem, if I was having this stressor, if I was the one dialing in, then how would I want this fixed? If this was my story that I'm hearing on the line, let's just flip the script. If this was my story, then how would I want this to be handled? Next part of your process is to constantly focus on bringing value, whether you are creating value for yourself, for the company, or for the person on the other line. Figure out how am I going to bring value. Bringing value to yourself is making yourself feel good about how that conversation went. Feeling proud about how that conversation ended. If you're building value for the company, building value for the person on the other line, you want to make sure that you're always positioning people to save face and feel good about interacting with you. You don't want people to get to the point where they don't want to have you around. The minute you start coming, other folks go in the other direction. You don't want that. You always want to be someone who's bringing value to a situation. And then always explain the why. That's the number one reason adults will listen to you, will act, will move, will get excited, will want to share anything with you, because they know why they should bother. So always make sure you understand, why are we going through this? Why do we have to get this information from you? Why do we explain that if time permits? I know you have certain parameters when it comes to taking care of your phone calls and such. Then communicate with balance. It should not be a one-way street. You should not be the one who's doing all of the talking or all of the railroading or what have you. But back up and turn turn your microphone off for just a second and make sure the other person is heard and truly hear that person. I know half the time you don't want to, or it's annoying, or you don't want to hear more about dogs, but make sure you're communicating with some balance. And then the other part of the process is when you see there's some toxicity or you feel some negativity coming into the conversation, it's time to say, wait, I feel like we're going in the wrong direction here. Let's take a step back. Get rid of it, because if you don't, it builds and builds and builds until somebody explodes. So if you use those steps as part of your process for engaging with no matter what quadrant, then it leads to success. Turn and talk for a second. Turn to your neighbor and tell him or her the most important fact you just learned about communication and moving and grooving through the different quadrants. What's the most important thing you just learned? Something important you learned. Something Wendy.
I think that one is more important than the other. I think you have to.
Look at that. One is not more important than the other. I agree. No. Oh, I'm sorry. No, you're spot on. It was perfect. Oh my goodness. I don't even know what to do anymore. Justin, then I want to hear from someone from whom I've not heard this morning. Justin.
I think like communicating with bounds so that, yeah, we're still getting to the solution of it, but they don't feel underheard or undervalued.
Wait, say it for me one more time.
Communicating with bounds because, yeah, I can still get to the solution, but that way they don't feel underheard or undervalued.
Okay, I can still get to the solution, but they don't feel underheard or undervalued. Love it. Jeff, and then I'll come to you, and then you, sir.
Well, we're in the cancellation department, and our goal is all of that, but our end goal is the why you take advantage of LifeLock and the understanding of what LifeLock does, so that even later on in the future, you understand what you can get and you understand the product correctly. So just because you cancel today doesn't mean you don't understand what LifeLock is.
Okay.
So that's the overall end goal.
Okay.
You get a save, but you also want to make sure your person understands why they originally enrolled in LifeLock period.
Okay, I like that. Tell me your name, and then I'll come to you, sir.
So my name is Masato, and I'm kind of just, it was the same thing that he had to say. I work in the alerts department, so the reason for them getting alerts and things like that, I feel like it's really important to let them know why it's happening,
So that was your big one, letting them know the why. It's huge, because you'll have some people where I'm not going to act just because you're telling me to do something. Let me know why.
Why, then you build the value.
When you explain the why, you build the value. You create the trust. You open the ears. Listening goes up. And concern and worry and stress go down when you give me the why. Yes. Thank you. Yes, sir. Tell me your name.
My name's Ryan. I think communicate with grit. I've been on the phones for a very long time. Sometimes I forget that I need to approach it with generosity. Integrity and truth, always there. Generosity, I forget sometimes. So,
you just kind of mumbled.
so I think that maybe not so much I learned, but reestablish.
Reestablish. A reminder. You've heard so much of this throughout your lives, from whether it was parents or teachers in some form or fashion, maybe just different words. And I thought I saw a hand in this direction. Nope, we're good. And Mary was like, nah, yes, and over here. Yes, and then I'll come back to Wendy.
Oh, my name is June. So what I was just saying was like, and also going off of what you said earlier, like they're all important, but like what I find myself doing is stepping into their shoes. Because like, so what I was just saying was that knowing how like being in a customer service role and everything, like I know how I want to be treated by customers. So then when I'm going home and I have an issue with my clothing, like I know how to treat that person.
So, yeah. Oh, it's really interesting. Tell me your name again. June said she works in customer service, so now when she is, calling a customer service department for personal reasons, she understands. She has a better sense of what's going on, putting herself in the other person's shoes. She knows what that customer service representative may be dealing with or going through, and so it kind of changes how you approach the conversation.
Right, and
Yeah.
it like helps me also you're stepping into like knowing how the member feels.
Stepping into knowing how the member feels. Yeah. Yeah. Makes a difference. Yes, tell me your name.
Leniva. So I'm in the restoration department. One of the things that I think I came
addressing the toxicity, because sometimes when you empathize, it just feeds it.
When you empathize, it can feed the
It can
toxicity.
feed their victimhood and their sense of drama and how horrible it is. Whereas if you address their behavior in an appropriate way, saying, look, you know, this isn't, we're not moving forward, right? Let's, you know, and you address their emotional state in a logical way. Sometimes they'll snap it out of them, so they listen, so you can move forward with the solution.
Right, and make sure that it's always that we're always using positive terminology.
Right.
I want to make sure we're going in the right direction, as opposed to saying we ain't going nowhere with this mess. We're not. Right. So I want to make sure that I get you an answer. So I feel like we're not headed.
You always go to empathy first,
right?
You know, so they know that they feel heard. But at some point, you're like, okay, I understand. I've been in your shoes before. That's why I work here. That's why I am specifically in this department. But in order for us to finish this call, in order.
I don't like what. I don't want to tell you why.
Well, okay, I understand what you're saying, but. But they're not listening when you empathize.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I just got validated.
Right.
This
And
is
let me tell her how my dog died and everything else.
This other way.
But she might like to hear that. All right. So now we have a plan and a process. Now we must be consistent. And one of the things we must consistently do is try to listen more than we talk. Try to listen more than we talk. Yes, sir.
We've been given 2 ears and 1 mouth. Let's use them in that proportion.
There you go. 2 ears and 1 mouth. For some strange reason, listen twice as much as we talk. Next, and this isn't as applicable in your instances with being on the phone, but body language in the face-to-face environment. If someone says, yeah, I'm having a really great day, the body language does not suggest you're having a really great day, but that can give you so. Wait, okay, and let me add on to that. So, although you may not be able to see people, you can quote unquote hear body language through the phone. So pick up on that. You can quote unquote hear a smile on a call. So pick up on the body language that you quote unquote see through the phone and recognize, and as well as yours, people can hear a smile. People can hear when you are sitting up straight, when you're on the edge of your seat, when you're alert, when your shoulders are back and your head is up and you're really committed to helping them. So pay attention to not only your body language, but the caller's body language. Thank you, Margaret and Wendy. Additionally, when you are in a tense situation, bring that tone down and bring that voice down. Don't start hollering going on, and slow the speech. That is going to keep people calm. When you start talking really quickly and the volume is up, that just adds to tension. So you want to consistently speak at as even of a tone as you can. And then imagine you have an audience listening in on you. Imagine Mike is listening in on this phone call. Everybody's like,
They actually do have people listening.
there you go. Imagine there's an audience and you tend to perform slightly better when you know that someone is watching or listening to your every word and watching your every move. Now, here, we talked about a dog dying while you were gone. Demonstrate as much emotional control as you can. Turn up that EQ, that emotional quotient that you have. See, when you're in control of your emotions and your feelings, then it's easier to work with and communicate with someone whose feelings may be up at a 10. Always remain in control of yourself. It's that locus of control that is absolutely necessary, where you have to be the level head. Decide that you're going to be the one that is the voice of reason and the voice of logic and the voice of peace, the voice of truth, the voice of solution finding, and the voice of taking risks. No. But you're going to be the one who is going to keep this conversation in a controlled manner. And you're going to be the one who is going to bring about the result that everybody wants. And this also involves, to a certain extent, separating your personal self from your professional self. That can be very hard when you have someone on the phone and they're upset, they're mad, there was a problem, there was an alert, there's a cancellation. It is easy for you to want to take that personally, but understand they are not upset with you personally or you personally or you personally. They're upset with the circumstance. They're upset possibly with LifeLock or possibly with Symantec, but they're not upset with you. And that can be hard at the end of the day as you're driving home. All of the gnashing of the teeth and the frustration, and that can be rough to push it to the side. But put that on your professional self and know that you're still a good, hardworking, solid person, regardless of what these people have going on outside of the job. And then finally, use I statements as much as possible. Use statements can be or can have an accusatory connotation to it. So constantly use I statements such as, I am committed to finding a solution. I need you to help me with this. I am going to move this forward, as opposed to, you need to be quiet. You need to, right? So use as many I statements as possible. Stand and talk for a second. Think of two things you're going to do with this information. Right now, think of two things you're going to do with this information, and then stand and tell a partner or a colleague what you're going to have as a plan of action, and compare what your plans of actions look like. What are you going to do with this information? What are you going to do with this information? Joshua.
So this is how I'm very excited to use it with my coworkers, because I think not only these qualities work for our members, but also our work environment as well. So
Use with coworkers. It works for not just members, but humans. So work, home, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Very good. Anybody else? I know I saw. Okay. Got to get an attitude.
So most of mine's on the phone, and it's like and my name's Jack.
Thank you.
I think I can use it more by building more empathy. That's what I struggle with.
Building more empathy.
Because I can't say I'm sorry if I'm not really actually sorry for something.
Just say sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, no,
Right?
I can't say something when I don't actually feel it.
That's why you follow it up with not sorry.
I
Yeah.
did have a quick question. per
Yes.
se.
Yeah.
Is there a way to build additional rapport with somebody when you're trying to get them to tell you some things, and they're not wanting to tell you anything, period? They're just like, so you're like, okay, we found a common interest. You're in Chicago? I lived in Chicago for 20 years. So now we have some common interest. I'm trying to build rapport, but you don't want to say anything, period. It's like, dude, your job isn't canceled. Click the button, cancel. Go on. You're like, I got you. In reality, I need to do a little bit more than that.
But there will be some people where that's just it,
And it's like,
right?
gotcha,
The walls up,
done.
and you can tell if you try one or two times, you know how far to push
Right.
it, and if you're not getting anywhere,
Right.
then you just don't
Right, you're
try
like,
to
you know
move
what,
it.
it's over.
Yeah, it's just done. That's just, you know, and this could be one of those people who, you know, again, is one of those types where it could look at puppies, rainbows, sunshine, flowers, and just be ticked off. This person has no friends. No, and Jeff is still pressing for resources. Are there any tips, Bridget? No. I mean, seriously, you give it your best shot, and you did with trying to connect. And if that person isn't feeling, seriously, there's this whole wheel of different forces that are at work when it comes to a person's personality and their attitudes and their behaviors. You don't know what family life is like. You don't know what the job life is like. You don't know what their educational background is like. You don't know what their financial situation is like. You don't know what kind of pressures they're getting from kids. You don't know what, there's this whole psychology to it. So you could get into a situation where that person just, I don't know, got beat over the head with a frozen leg of lamb and had a flat tire and electricity got turned off. I don't want to talk to you about being from Chicago. I'm just trying to get my life together. So, you never know, right? So you give it your best shot.
Okay.
And then when you feel like you're not gaining any traction,
Just go on.
you just move on.
You have to keep that in mind too, like when you're on the phone, because it's like, it's your problem.
Right, but seriously, and I wish I hid the slide. I have it, and I can show it afterwards. But there's this whole wheel of just different forces that can be coming at a person on that phone. And just think about your own lives, all the forces with which you contend, whether it's finances, significant other, family, friends, anything. And it can just overwhelm you. And this is just a phone call. This is an agenda item. for me to check off and move on today. I'm not feeling it. But you never know, next week that person could be a whole other person because all of that pressure is off of him. Yes, sir, and then I'll come back over to you, Chris.
Name is Robert. Just to answer his question, the truth is you can't save everybody. Cut 'em
Can't
loose.
save everybody.
Cut 'em loose.
That's a good one. Yep, that's true. Chris.
So, I think that communication has been lost lately because everybody's on their cell phone nowadays. So, a challenge to everybody. I don't know how many of you people would be willing to do it, but when you're at the grocery store or you're at a restaurant or something, and notice somebody or whatever, just a social atmosphere, just strike up a conversation with a complete stranger.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Risktaker.
Nice try. I like it. Jared, and then we're gonna wrap up.
What speaking about, it kind of sounds like you're just like you're on the phone with another solution seeker, you know? Like,
Oh, Jared said you may be on the phone with another solution seeker.
you know, because like,
Good point.
like I'm the same way when I call into somewhere for something, I'm like, hey, this is what I need to do, let's do it. And
Yeah.
like, I don't talk to them about
I think the
it.
difference is, like she said, because we're in customer service, we call differently when we call customer service.
Yeah.
So we have a different attitude when
Yeah.
we call customer service.
Yeah.
The average person doesn't think like that.
Yeah.
And so, okay, that does make sense.
That is, and I just went on down this path. Oh, you don't know what's going on. But no, you could have another solution seeker. All right, so an effective communication context is one, not everybody needs the same thing in a conversation.
True.
And I think that's kind of what we just arrived at here. Two, style stretching is required. Sometimes I might have to get uncomfortable. And someone in this area, I believe, said something about getting uncomfortable early on. Have a plan while you're doing that stretching. Know the purpose, know what it is the end product is, and then know what your process is for getting to that end product. Be consistent. Listen more than you talk. Show, communicate with grit, and so on. And then separate your personal life from your professional life. I have a $20 bill. It's going to go into somebody's wallet today. Whose wallet? Yeah, okay, well, what if I did this to it? What if I dropped it on the ground? Still want it? Still has the same value. So, the point was, it didn't matter if this got crumpled up, didn't matter if it got stepped on, thrown to the floor, beat down, it didn't matter. It still had the same value. You're going to come across people who may have been crumpled up in life, may have been crushed and stepped on and dirtied up in some kind of way, whether it was through choices that they made, circumstances that they could not control, whatever it may be, they still have value and they are deserving of someone who is going to communicate with respect. The worth of our lives does not come in what it is we do or who it is we know, but how we demonstrate who we are by the way we connect with each other and the way we communicate with